and this is my eChange report. In this opportunity, I would like to look at an organizational change experience I was able to start about 4 years ago with the church Centro Bíblico Internacional, which means International Bible Center in Barranquilla, Colombia. This change experience was the transition from a small group strategy we have been using for more than 15 years called Grupos de Amistad, or friendship groups. And we transited into a new model called care cells, in Spanish, células de cuidado. In the following report, I will start by introducing some theories and of change and innovation that apply to this change experience, to continue with what took place in the change, and we will finish by reflecting of what things I could have done better if I would apply the models and the theories properly. A change model that applies to the innovation of CBI's small group strategy is Kotter's theory. His theory starts by creating a sense of urgency. The second step is to build a core coalition with key leaders and stakeholders. The third step is to form a strategic vision that will define the change. The fourth step is to get everyone on board. The fifth step is to remove barriers and reduce friction. The sixth step is to generate short-term wins. The seventh step is to sustain the acceleration and keep the momentum needed for the change. And the eighth and final step is to set changes in stone. Another theory that we will consider is the analysis of Rogers' 5 factors of innovation. Roger places potential innovation adapters into one of 5 categories. First, innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. In the process of change, I can say that we started by creating a sense of urgency. For this, we began creating an awareness of how the friendship groups were no longer efficient in the process of assimilation and supporting the growth of the church. From the year 2012, the attendance of the small groups started to drop, and slowly more and more groups were shutting down. Through a process of research and networking with other churches, we were able to understand what could be happening with our strategy. As stated by Dyers, Gregerson, and Christensen, devoting time and energy to finding and testing ideas through network gives a radical different perspective. This is how we connected with Trinity Christian Center in Singapore, who introduced us to the care cell model. As we learned of how the strategy could help us fill the gaps, we were able to recognize that we needed a strategy that didn't just help us grow in numbers, but one that would help us become more efficient in the fulfillment of our mission to make disciples. As stated by Robert Steffen in his article, Built to Change Congregations, he says that the contemporary challenge for Christian congregations today is to become more efficient in the exercise of their missional calling rather than just attracting more members to join up. The second step was creating a core coalition. This was done with the pastors that were on the top of the structure of the friendship groups at that time. They committed to embrace and to promote the transition from the friendship model to the new care cell model. And the third and fourth step, which is forming a strategic vision and getting everyone on board, this was applied through what we called leadership care cells. The purpose was for all the pastors and leaders to experience the care cell philosophy through weekly meetings. After 40 weeks of meetings, we launched our first 35 open care cells. The fifth step of removing barriers and reducing friction took place as we took time to train the whole pastoral team and the leaders. By the time that the leaders launched the first 35 open care cells, everyone was equipped and ready. For the sixth step of generating short-term wins, among many victories we started to observe, we pulled out testimonies of those experiencing a strong community life in their care cells, the testimonies of those cells that have started to multiply, and the experience of those that have started to raise up to serve the Lord, to sustain the acceleration and to change on stone, which is Kotter's seventh and eighth step. We are still today working on building a different culture, a culture that is more focused on transformation and leadership development. This is different from our previous culture that was more into just evangelism and attending church events. After 4 years of implementing the change, 80% of our friendship groups have transited to the care cell model. We have multiplied more than 45 cells, and each day new leaders are being raised up, while a continual discipleship is taking place within the leadership. Nevertheless, our lack of awareness of how people respond to innovation has made us make many mistakes. Most of all, with those that I now recognize as late majority and laggards. Sadly, I can conclude that if I was aware of this phenomena from the beginning, I would have done things differently to keep them connected in other ways. I hope it's not too late to encourage those that have been ignored or even felt rejected due to our ignorance or lack of sensitivity of how different people respond to innovation. May the new knowledge on innovation and change that I've been able to receive through this course help us improve of how to approach change from here on. I am Frank Smith, and this was my eChange Report. Thank you for watching.